to England.
At what age was that?
I share that at 6 3/4. And I give you that 3/4 because I was almost 7. And the saying says, show me a child from 0 to 7, I'll show you the man.
Ooh.
So when I came over with all my freeness, my parents were
part of the culture, but we ain't part of the culture. Still making it rain, but a little words fly in, so them man there, some them man there. Tree say we don't know them. Always chatting about Lengo, roll with the stick, man, have to outgrow them. You see this life, only get one, don't get twice. Got value with treated right, find purpose, meaning fight. That's destiny calling. Ring, 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 ring. We accept it.
Hello. Good morning, good day, good evening, wherever you are watching us from. Welcome to Faith to Finding Love. Can you believe it? This is season 2, episode 3. And what we're going to be talking about today is the role of a man within a family. Unfortunately, my co-host, Mr. Christian Adam, is not with me today. He normally, reins me in because apparently I come with too much energy and too much excitement, and ask some random questions. Don't get scared. Don't worry.
I'm not
Don't get scared.
Look at my hands.
You're ready for me. You're ready for me.
Ain't shaking.
Anyway, so I want to introduce you to a mentor of mine, and I'll just give you a quick synopsis on his profile. He classes himself as a serial social entrepreneur. He's an author of I Made a Billion. Calls himself a diamond shaper into a beautiful and phenomenal you. He's a minister and a speaker. Please give it up for Mr. Pat Reid. My guy, my fellow Liverpool supporter.
Yep.
Mr. Pat Reid,
Yes,
it's always fun speaking to you. It's always exciting in your presence.
the pleasure's mine.
You have an energy about you. You have a wonderful smile. You're very welcoming. But I'm sure you didn't start off that way. So please give us a little synopsis of who is Pat Reid.
Okay, well, thanks for the welcome, mate. Literally, the feeling is mutual. You know that.
Yes,
big love for you.
Big love.
Anytime.
My
Absolutely.
guy. My guy.
Fellow Liverpool supporter.
Come on.
Big
The
up.
Coppish. All right, let me go. You see, I'm getting excited already. It's you.
No problem. Well, listen, yes, my name's Pat Reid, and I am a PK, a pastor's kid, and I think that's possibly two things that helped shape me, and one of them I have recently come to know, and being a PK has shaped me, but what I've recently learned that has really shaped my life, and this was really, I stumbled on this.
Okay.
And what it was my cousin asked me, she said to me one day, Pat, why you like this? Why you like how you are? I'm like, how am I? What am I like? And she goes, you're the only one amongst us as cousins and brothers and sisters and so forth. You're the only one who has a business, and you've been running it for 30 plus years. Mm-hmm. You take risks, you do what you want, you go where you want to go, you're just free and easy, and you just do your own thing. Mm-hmm. You're not caged, nobody controls you, You've always been like that. So I was like, I don't know, that's just how I was born, that's just me, I don't know. And I think it was last year or the year before, I was talking to my sister, and I said to her, cousin was asking me, why am I the way I am? I'm the only one who has a business, free and easy. I do my own thing, go, you take risks, you go here, you go there, you do adventurous things. And she said, I know, that's easy. was like, you do? It is? I said, please share with me. And she said to me something which was interesting, and it was like a bolt of lightning. When you just get an awakening. And she said, the reason why you're like you are, you were raised with your grandmother. I said, okay. She said, yes. And from your own testimony, she said to me, from your own testimony, she loved you. She literally worshipped you. And you grew up in a space and in an environment which was free. It was easy. You were loved. You were outside. You were running around with other kids. You lived your life free. You learned from the older guys how to make and fly kites. You made catapults. You experimented. You were entrepreneurial. Although we didn't have a word for it then, but that's what you were. You were entrepreneurial. You done everything with your hand. You had to find solutions and find and invent things for yourself, for your enjoyment. But you were free to explore. You were always out, and your grandmother gave you that liberty and the love. She said, we, on the other hand, we came to England with our parents. And with our parents, we were like, don't do this, don't do that, you can't go there, you can't. And they were more stricter. They were like, put the fear of God in them. And they weren't allowed to explore and be free and be easy and become whatever they wanted to become. Stay there, no, you can't go out, don't do that. And you're in a strange land and you don't know, what the neighbors will say or the people will say or this will say. And so they were restricted and became risk averse.
Okay.
Where I was fostered up and brought up in a more freer environment. I was allowed to make my own mistakes without any reprimand.
Okay.
I was allowed to venture out and explore. I was allowed to take risks, and I would always be loved. I was never kept back or restricted. I had the freedom of Jamaica, as it were, an environment where I was. And that literally, when I came over to England...
At what age was that?
I was just about to share that.
Okay.
At 6 3/4. And I give you that 3/4 because I was almost 7. And the saying says, show me a child from 0 to 7, I'll show you the man. Ooh. So when I came over with all my freeness, my parents were trying to restrict me and put me back in a box and try to, slow me down, tie me down.
Okay.
It's too late. It's too late. The horse has bolted.
It's gone.
Gone.
Jumped over everything.
And literally, it was just too late. And there was a disparity between me and the others. I was free, easy, full of risk, full of chances. I would go and do this, explore, and be that man. If it's going to be done, he's going to do it.
Mr. Patrick Reid.
It's going to be him and so forth. And literally, I had the freedom of the manor, and it was too late for my parents to try and now pull me back and restrict me and put me back in a box, which I couldn't fit in. And so that was very notable from the onlookers, from my brothers and sisters. Me,
Okay.
I'm living in a body, and I'm living my life, and I'm living my.
You're just doing you.
I'm doing me. It was always been me, and now I was trying to be restricted.
Okay.
And my parents, my mum and I were like this, just clashing all the time, because I was already the man I was going to be at the age of 7.
Jeez.
And that's where the difference came. That's where I was allowed to explore, allowed to make mistakes, allowed to take a chance, to take risks, but still be loved, still be cared for, still know that I have a safety net, as it were, to allow myself to thrive and become the beautiful me.
The beautiful you, Mr. Pat Reid. You touched on your 30-year business. So tell us what you do then.
Okay, two things. Number one, I've been in business for 30 plus years. And a lot of people call me a businessman, but I wouldn't call myself a businessman.
Okay. What would you call yourself?
I call myself a social entrepreneur.
Okay.
Big difference.
Okay.
My wife, I would call her a businesswoman. You don't mess with her. She's strictly business. But me, I'm an entrepreneur. The difference is this. I always try to get this over to people. There are three types of us, probably more, but three main types of characters in a business. Number one is a manager. A manager manages a business. A manager manages operation, manage administration, and manage the function of the business. They say manage people as well, but a lot of people say you can't manage people. But that is the process of which a manager does. Give him a business, he will manage it. All right? And he won't lose any money because he's normally risk averse. He's a safe pair of hands. But an entrepreneur, on the other hand, is completely different.
Very.
An entrepreneur is a person who I always tell people, how do you spell entrepreneur? And they say, oh, Ian. I said, okay, let me save you the energy. Entrepreneur is spelled R-I-S-K. R-I-S-K is entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is that guy who's girl who's going to take the risk to make something work. They're the ones who will explore, who will attempt, who will take the chance, take the risk, and they're going to make it happen. They're those people who jump and make the wings on the way down because they know they're going to make it work. They've got enough front, they've got enough confidence, they've got enough wherewithal within themselves that I ain't going to crash, and I'm going to make this happen, and I'm going to jump, and I'm going to make this thing work. I was going to say if it kills me, but I'm going to make this thing work. I'm going to build the wings.
You're going to push the boundaries.
It's going to be pushed because that's in me. And I always say, more or less, these things are inbred. They always say, is it nurture or nature?
Nature, yeah.
And it's primarily nature. You've got to be born with a certain a bent in yourself. I'm just a risk taker. I just go for it. I just see that. I always say to people, how do you know whether you're a manager or an entrepreneur? An entrepreneur wakes up every morning with a new business in his mind. He's thinking of this, and before lunch he has another 10, 12, 15 ideas and 15 business. By the end of the day, it is another 20 more. They always just have that influx of ideas. They look at this and say, I can improve that. They look at that and say, I can better that. And look at that and say, why don't we do... They're just in thought. They're just creative. They're just looking at a different way, a better way. And sometimes they say, because they're lazy people, they're going to find an easier way to do it. They're going to find a way that with less effort, and it's going to make them more adventurous, more risk-taking, because I ain't going to do it your way. That looks too hard. Why don't we do this instead? Why don't we put it in a barrel? Why don't we put wheels in? Why don't we put a jet on it? Why don't we... They're going to find a way to do it more efficiently and with less work. A manager, on the other hand, they want to start a business. They wake up in the morning and think, I want to start a business, but I don't know what to do. I want to, but I can't think. Different animal.
It's a different animal.
Totally there. But whereas what should happen is a manager and an entrepreneur should work together. And this is what happens with my wife and I. I would start the business, go out, start a business, and bring it home to my wife, or bring it to the office and say, look, there's a new business, and I pass it over to her. I've been running it for 2 months. Now you run it.
Okay.
Because an entrepreneur more or less gets bored with doing the same thing every day. They want a new challenge. So they give it over to a manager. A manager is happy to manage it, make it work. What my wife does is she makes it legal, so she puts all the legal processes in place. She puts wings, wheels, and legs on anything I create. So she makes it fly, she makes it drive, she makes it travel at a safe rate or not. It's legal. It has all the governance correctly.
Wonderful.
Entrepreneurs don't have time for bookwork and paperwork.
You just got to get it. Yeah, we need to move.
She's going to do the fine print, read the fine print, make it work, make it legal, and register it, etc. All those administrative details. Bam, it's legal. It's going. And she put supervisors and managers in place and makes it more efficient and effective in terms of running. Formalizing is the correct word.
Wonderful. And you're married to the wonderful,
amazing and wonderful Claudine Reid.
Claudine Reid. And how long have you been married for?
This year, 27 years.
27
Absolutely.
Years.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Glorious, wonderful, beautiful years.
Yeah. And that partnership, you said you're the serial entrepreneur and then she's the manager. How did you first find that dynamic? How did you first build that dynamic? How did you...
Do you know what? Two things. Number one is this: the whole arrangement. It's funny how my life, everything I stumble on and I trip over, I think it's God's direction. But Claudine came in straight out of uni. I think it was final year of her uni. She wanted a business. What do they call it when you put them in the trials? What do they call it again?
Apprenticeship.
Similar to apprenticeship.
Okay. Internship.
It's something like internship, right?
I'm just guessing now.
No, those are great guesses, because they wanted to find a business where she can work and get the practical experience, etc.
Okay.
Because she's in last year of uni, and then she needs to put all this theoretical work into a practical setting. And so she came over to my business. And what happened was this: halfway through, I think it was after 3 months, I think she joined in August, September, October, November, December. In January, my whole family was going to see my parents back home in Jamaica. And the first time I left the business in the hand of my then business partner, when I came back after a few weeks, there was no money in the till.
Oh.
And so I was very wary this time. So when I went away, before I went away, I left every penny, every bank account, all the keys, all the checkbooks in those days, everything into her hand.
Oh, okay.
I said, you have control over all of this. And I said, don't worry about my partner, you have control over it. Oh gosh. He doesn't, but you do. I didn't get into any reason why. I just said, you have control. And literally, I went away for a few weeks with my family. And when I came back, the day I landed, she called me and said, meet me tomorrow to pick up the keys and so on. And the following day, I think it was a weekend, I met her. She gave me the keys, she gave me the bank account, bank detail, bank book, checkbooks, and all this kind of thing.
She gave you profit.
All the codes. And when I checked the bank account, money galore. All the money was there. I was so impressed, and I was so grateful. What I got from that, Mickey, when I saw everything was in place, two things sprung to mind. Number one is this, that you are trustworthy. And it was trust that sort of impacted my heart and mind. And number two is this, I said, listen, if I can trust you with my business, with my wealth, and with all of my money, I can trust you with my heart. And that was the start of the rest of my life.
Wow.
I said, you're a keeper. You're a keeper. If I can trust you with my business, I can trust you with my heart. I gave her my heart that day and never looked back.
And that's been the story ever since.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Wow.
Absolutely.
That's powerful. Right, I've got some questions for you.
Go ahead, sir.
How was the role of a man in today's society changed or evolved compared to when you were young or when you were growing up?
Okay, two things. I think that fundamentally it hasn't changed. I think probably operationally it probably has. I think the fundamentals of the biblical principle that we adopted in our relationship, sex before marriage being a no-no, that hasn't changed. But a lot of our people nowadays, they don't really think that is a key issue. Oh, we're going to get married, so let's do it anyway. That's a huge problem. That's a huge problem. Because suppose you don't marry her. Suppose something comes up and everything falls down and you've already sold your soul to each other. That creates an issue. I think being faithful to God, you'll be faithful to your wife or your man, your husband, you know. I think the two go hand in hand.
Okay.
And what I always promised to God was that I will be faithful to you. And if I'm faithful to you, I know you'll be faithful to me. Yeah. And, the biggest sins at that time in church was fornication and adultery. That's the biggest sins, in the world. Don't commit fornication, don't commit adultery. But I think I didn't see the relevance of that statement or them putting as a preeminence. But when you have sex before marriage, I think it was Jesus that said that if you have sex with a prostitute, you become one with her.
With her, yep.
Right? And what happens is we mention the fact about soul ties. And the soul tying together is done in the act of sex, where flesh meets flesh and makes a tie. Not only flesh meets flesh, because before flesh meets flesh, you have to say, yes, I'll accept you into me, into my life, into my body.
Yeah.
And I think it's that spiritual acceptance and acknowledgement or allowing that person to be received into me that makes that tie in your soul. It's a spiritual connection. It's a spiritual connection where you have said, I'm happy for you to come into me. They're just going totally off on a tangent. They always say this. It's totally unbelief. But they were saying about a vampire. A vampire cannot enter your house
unless you invite them.
Unless you invite them. Similar thing with this sex.
I like that tangent. It's true.
Literally, when you give permission, the instant you give permission, yes, you can come in
Yeah.
sexually.
Yeah.
You've tied yourself.
You've tied yourself up.
Spiritually, from a soulish level. And that ties first before you do the physical act.
Yeah.
And that's why, I think, that's why that Jesus said, if you lust after a woman,
Yeah.
you've committed adultery in your heart. And that's saying, I will allow you to come in. Just what I'm saying.
I see that.
It's tying yourself on a spiritual level before you do the physical act. You've got to give that the permission to come in. That's where the deed is done. Spiritually, you've tied them. You know, even you're talking on the telephone. You know, you love this one. You know, you talk on the telephone. You just fall asleep talking. You wake up talking on the phone. That soul coming out through your verbal speech.
Yeah.
That's called verbal intercourse.
Jeez. Okay.
Verbal intercourse.
Okay.
And that is when you get tied verbally because you love that person or that person comes into you through that
Through the
verbal
word.
connection.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's why that quickly leads on to sexual
To the rest of it.
intercourse. Yeah. So there's a lot of scriptures that really backs up that theory in terms of soul ties and how those soulish connections are made on a spiritual level. It's very interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. How important is it for a man to be able to financially support their family? I know we've gone left here a little bit.
No,
But, you know.
that's a massive issue, Mick. You know what happens is that I have a lot of daughters. I've got a lot of sons as well, but I have more daughters than sons. The daughters come to me and say, we can't find any men on our level that we can marry. We want to marry, but we can't find a man. The issue is this, Mick, that a lot of my daughters, highly educated, highly intelligent and smart, and have achieved academically. And they then come out of universities and colleges and what have you. They get very good jobs. They're very stable in their jobs. They then earn good money.
Yeah.
They buy their cars. And
Their
then-
houses.
And a few years later, buy their houses.
Some own businesses.
So, tell me about it, okay? Now, on the other side, the men that they're meeting, they're sofa surfing. They're sofa surfing because their mums kicked them out of their house because of smoking, drug use,
Being up to no good, whatever.
all that kind of stuff. And they go to find a girlfriend, and they go with the girlfriend just to find somewhere to sleep, just to find a bed and somewhere warm. And maybe there's not even a real connection of love. It's just convenience. And then what happens is, eventually when they mess up, they get kicked out by the girlfriend. Now they're sofa surfing on their mate's sofa. And you find too many of that amongst our men because what happened to their desire, whether there was a dream or not at some stage, to earn the money they really want. It takes a commitment to say, I'm going to educate myself, I'm going to go to a place of work that's paying me good money because I have the academic qualifications to get that job and to earn that type of money. Not a lot of our men really commit to the work of the academic studies to get themselves to the level to earn the right sort of money they want to buy the right sort of things that they want. They haven't put work in. You can look at someone else and say, oh, he has this and he has that. But you didn't know what he went through to get it.
To achieve that.
I say to a lot of men and women who want to be, start their own business and do this and do that, and to live the lifestyle that I live, I said, you've just started 2 or 3 years. You've got to multiply that by 10 to get to where I am. I said, some can do that much quicker, much faster, much better, but you can't buy the car for 30 or 50,000 pounds, and that's how much you're earning, 30 or 50,000 pounds. You have to be earning $500,000 or $1 million or two or plus in order to buy the quality car that you want. Not all of your money. I was listening to the director, CEO, and they were interviewing Nick Cannon.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Nick Cannon.
12 kids. Something crazy.
I don't know. I haven't gotten to that part yet. But he said this. He was rubbing shoulders with the likes of Will Smith, the likes of Hart. What's his Hart?
Kevin Hart.
And the Wild Wild West. No. The Wild Wild West? No. What's his name again?
It's not Will Smith. Django. Was he in Django?
That's one.
Jamie Foxx.
Jamie Foxx.
Yeah.
I met Jamie Foxx. I know him.
You couldn't remember his name though.
Jamie Foxx. He's hanging with them. And he said, Will Smith taught him this. He said, listen, we all get to Hollywood young and we make loads of money, got hundreds of thousands, we go and buy 2, 3, 4, 5 cars, we make all the wrong, I was going to say investments, but they're not investments. We make all the wrong moves. We buy the wrong things and think that says we're rich, the watches, the cars, the this, the shoes. And what happens is this. Their next contract don't come through, or they didn't get that a big break that they were looking at. They didn't star in that Hollywood movie. Therefore, the $500,000 they got or $2 million they got last year and spent like crazy, a year later, or 2 years later, 3 years later, you're back in your parents' house because you blew the money that you had. And a lot of these guys ended up living in their car, sleeping in their car. The car became their home. And when you got fed up with that, just go back to mum and tell her, sorry, mum, I'm back. But Will Smith warned him and said, please don't be like me and broke at 19.
Jeez.
Sure enough, Cannon was broke at 19 and back with his mother.
Oh, gosh.
And he said, Will did tell me. He tried to warn me, and so did
Kevin Hart or Jamie Foxx.
So did Jamie Foxx. They were all mentored him as older guys. So it is very important to, in a way, properly manage your finances, because if it's not spending wildly, it's then not paying your taxes, and then the government comes down on you, etc., etc. So it's very wise to listen to the older ones who's been there, seen it, done it, and I'll warn you, don't fall in that hole that I fell into.
Learn from your experience.
In that pit. Learn from my experience and avoid them. So it is challenging for our boys to be on an equivalent financial footing with our girls because they put the work in. And there's no get-rich-quick scheme that is going to work for you indefinitely. There are ways. I went to my club the other day, and the gentleman was speaking with me. He's probably in his 70s perhaps, because he said he's been an entrepreneur for 50 years. And he said, bro, it's really, really tough. I'm going through this, and this guy ain't give me any money, and money's short, and I can't do it. And I said to him, listen, don't worry about that. The journey of an entrepreneur, there are hills and there are valleys. Then there are another hill, another valley. I said, at the moment, you're going through a valley.
I'm taking notes here, man. It's a lot.
Listen, don't worry about the valleys. You will get through them. You've done it before. You've been there, right? So know that. Don't get depressed. Don't get down. Don't throw the towel in. Don't, thinking of doing something stupid. No. Walk through your valley. Seek help if you need it. Don't think you're too big to not need help. My coach said this, and I'm going to try.
So you even got a coach? You got a coach?
What? That's essential.
Jeez.
My coach said this: in order to make your business more efficient and better, you need two things. And let me get the words right. He said you either need automation or delegation. Automation or delegation. I said, okay, what's automation? He said, you may find a digital way to improve it and increase efficiency. So there may be an app that you can develop, or there's one out there that you can utilize to make your business more efficient. Other than that, delegation is the way to go. What's a delegation? Make sure you have the right people. You're hiring someone to do that, which frees you up to do that, or to be more efficient in that way, or to rediscover something else. Delegate it to someone else. You only have two pairs of hands, but when you delegate it to another person that you'll employ, you now have
another pair of
two more pairs of hands, and you're able to do that. Replicate. I think it was T.G. Jakes that says, listen, if you have a very successful bakery over here, he said, go over in that part of the town and repeat the process.
Repeat the process.
Go in that part of town and repeat the process. And that's what we don't do very well. Our people don't do that very well. They have their establishment there, they're happy with it, and I'm making it here, and I'll sit down here and just repeat the process on the other side of town. Empower someone else to run that side of town with your shop, with your establishment, with whatever you're doing, thus increasing your wealth, but also giving wealth to someone else. Don't hog it all for yourself, because your two pairs of hands will always limit you. Empower somebody else, get the youngster, put him over there. He's trustworthy, he's smart, he's efficient, or she. Put him over the other side of town. They may even do a better job than you. There may be even something you learn from them. And when that's successful, go over that side of town and repeat the process over there. So in essence, that only makes us richer. That only makes us better. That only makes us more profitable. Never hog everything and think it's only you that can do it. That way you'll never expand, you'll never increase, you'll never become the champion that God has created you to be.
Okay. The next question, I'd like you to kind of personalize it, and it's looking at father figures. And how they contribute to a child's emotional and psychological development. So I want you to talk about the template your father set for you. What did you see from your father? And then talk about, the impact of a father on a child's life, and, the impact on current society. So start off with, who was dad to you?
That is a very good question. My dad was awesome. He was an awesome father. And he was someone who, he lived at peace with everyone. And I don't know if you can visualize that, being in a house with a man that is very loving, very tender, very peaceful. And he always used to say, anything for a peaceful life when mom's gone off at a tangent. Anything for a peaceful life. But he was like that with everybody. He lived peaceful with everyone. And if the group of churches he was in, if they was told, oh, don't go and visit that church over there. He'd say, but he's my friend. He helped me do this and helped me do that, and I'm going to help him do this and help him do it. I'm sorry, I can't not go there because he's a friend of mine. And he'd be straight up because he has a relationship with that individual, because that's the man he was. He didn't want to make war or make enemy or make it difficult with people. He had peace with all men. And they loved him because he was a lovable person. He wasn't at variance with them. He weren't at loggerheads with anyone. If there was a problem, he'd go to them and sort it out. Straight up. And I thought that was awesome. So there was a lot I learned from him. And I think he saw a lot of himself in me. And I remember him saying to me, he's going to love his wife, he's going to make a husband, etc.
And you were one of how many kids?
6.
Oh gosh.
But
that had to be present.
I'm a little absolutely. But I'm a little boy then, but he sees the man I'm going to be. I don't know how, I don't know how, but he saw that. And as he said it, that's absolutely me in terms of how I grew up. I think it's interesting. There's a heart of a father in some men, not all men.
Not all men.
And there are some fathers, supposed fathers, who get jealous of their son.
Jeez.
In life, I say every father want their son to be better than them, to achieve more, to have more, to accomplish more. That is a father. Every father wants their son to stand on their shoulders and be bigger, better, and more successful.
And is that what is missing now in today's society?
Because there's so many who are competing with their son.
Jeez.
And the fact of the matter is, Mike, that these guys remain a child until in their 50s, in their 60s.
That's deep.
And a lot of them are still playing kiss chase in the playground in their 50s. And the thing is that these guys got trapped at 16 and never grew up. I don't know why they stood it and stopped at that age. I don't know, it could be some traumatic situation, it could be something happened in there, some trauma, I don't know. But they remain 16 or even 14 until in their 40s and 50s.
Jeez.
And number one, they didn't have a father to mentor them, to show them how to be a man, and unfortunately remained a child well into their 3rd trimester, when they should be maturing and becoming grandfathers indeed. And a grandfather in the sense that I am a father because I know how to father, and now I've mastered that and become a grandmaster at fathering. And that's what we don't have. And I think that's very, very important, that that mentoring of fatherhood is propagated throughout our community. And if you see that, and if you see that in a person, go to that person. Don't be embarrassed to be mentored by that person, learn the pathway of success. And it's a similar thing in business as well. Why am I going to a guy who has in essence, a business that's turning over £1,000 or a couple £1,000, and show me how to do this. Why don't you ask him? He's turning over millions.
Yeah.
Why don't you ask him, how do I become a millionaire?
Yeah.
How do I turn over millions as opposed to hundreds?
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know if it's humility, or I don't know whether it's just ego that doesn't allow you to learn and literally expand you by seeing whoever can make you better.
Pat, we need to invite you back on. I want you to talk about your school, this current business venture in which you're on. So if you can give us a quick synopsis on where it's come from, how you stumbled across this idea, and where you're at.
Okay. Well, as you know, I now live in Jamaica.
Jeez.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Jeez. And you ain't invited me yet.
No, you.
Jeez.
Mickey,
No.
You have
we talk about this affair. We talk about this
open
affair.
invitation.
I'm offended.
And literally, I went back to Jamaica, and I didn't go there to retire. As I said, in my dictionary, there's no such word as retirement. The Jews said they don't have a word in the Jewish language called retirement. And I've adopted that model as well, because literally I'm at a stage now where I'm working smarter instead of harder. And with that, and with going home, I saw in a lot of instances where I can help. My desire was to be able to, in my current business here in England, for over 30 years, we have employed over 10,000 people.
And what's the name of that business? Or?
PJ's Community
PJ's
Services.
Community, wonderful.
Right, we've employed over 10,000 people in 30 years.
Jeez.
My desire is to go to Jamaica and employ 10,000 people within 10 years.
Wow.
Or even 5 years, even better. But by the grace of God, within 10 years, we can employ 10,000 people. It's about giving them opportunities to earn, opportunities to avoid poverty, opportunities to send their children to school so that they don't repeat the process of poverty. I want to create business people and entrepreneurs. And I stumbled on, when I went there, what the desire they wanted over there was, I was going to talk in the school. I just want to do talks and see how I can add my wisdom and years of experience. And they sent me to a guidance counselor. The guidance counselor said, we need a lot of help here. And I said, what do you need help with? And I said to them, do you guys have PRUs over here in Jamaica? What's a PRU? Oh, a pupil referral unit. We've never heard of it. And so I said, well, look, I created one in England. I didn't like the PRU's model in England, so I created my own, ran it for several years until I started a nursery, an infant school that was sponsored by the government. But the learning of that alternative education provision, I didn't call it PRU. I don't like the term, I don't like the model, I don't like it. The alternative education provision that I started turned people around, and we learned so much about how and why kids are excluded from school and sent to PRUs. We found out that 85% of excluded children have just experienced bereavement and loss. But nobody looked into that and say, well, how do we help them through that hurt and that trauma and that grief? And that was what they needed. What we discovered, rather than having a PRU and trying to drill a book into their brain to learn your maths, they're not ready to learn at that stage. We found out that they are grieving, that they are bleeding, that they're hurting. What they want was what that man in the Good Samaritan, found on the road, beaten and bruised and busted up. He stopped.
He helped and healed. Yeah.
He needed that child to be bandaged, put on his horse, and taken to a hospital. Put in that hospital, and said to the innkeeper, whatever he needs while I'm away, I will pay you. Give him all he needs to be healed. Make sure his bandages and bruises are all taken care of daily. Make sure he eats right. Make sure he sleeps right, and make sure he's not bleeding all over the bed. Okay? And literally, that's what these kids need. They need healing. They need their wounds bandaged because they're bleeding, they're wounded. And what you have created is a place where you're going to give them more stick. Bash, bash, bash. And that is not the way to heal them. And so the PRU to prison pipeline is created.
Jeez.
There's no love, there's no care, there's no time spent to heal. And what we found that we created was a counseling experience to bring these people, to get them ready to learn again.
Good.
Amazing.
Awesome.
It healed so many people, restored some back to school, and helped them go on to find further education. We were so blessed and so successful.
Wonderful. So where can people find you, find out more about your projects and some of the stuff that you're involved in?
Well, they can find me on Facebook as all the older people do. It's what old people, the young people say. But I'm on Instagram, Pat Reid 1-to-1.
Okay.
I'm on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I think I'm just Pat Reid on there. Or might be Pat Reid 1-to-1. I can't remember. And on Facebook, I'm Pat Reid. But I'm going to be using my Instagram now. I'm going to be using my LinkedIn more. And hopefully I'll be creating a YouTube channels as well to push out some wisdom and some experience.
Oh, great stuff. Mr. Reid.
Hey.
It's been an epic one. Thank you for coming by. Listen, we need another meet-up soon.
I'm ready when you are, bro.
Yeah.
Ready when you are.
I feel we were just unpacking some bits there.
Tip in the iceberg.
Tip of the iceberg. Well, people, Faith to Finding Love. It's your boy, Mickey, with my co-host for the day, Mr. Pat Reid. Stay blessed. Speak soon. God bless.
That's you.
You know, there are different complexities, different challenges, and we think it's going to get, well, we want it to get easier, but there are so many complexities at play, and people are bringing a different type of baggage into relationships.
Part of the culture, but we ain't part of the culture. Still making it rain, but a little words fly in soaking. Them man there, some them man there. Tree say we don't know them. Always chatting about Lengo, roll with the stick, man, have to outgrow them. You see this life, only get one, don't get twice. Can't value it, treat it right. Find purpose, meaning, fight.